Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers.
And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 16, Episode 24. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. Dave, the Pittsburgh Steelers will not go 17-0 this season. They dropped their first game of the season to the Seattle Seahawks, 31-17 Sunday afternoon, the home opener at Acrisure Stadium. Pittsburgh 1-1 on the year, getting ready for Week 3 at New England. A sloppy game overall in all three phases. One disaster on special teams, but hardly the only mistake in this game. So, Dave, how you doing?
All right. I would say happy Monday, but it's really not. I guess it's time for the first rendition of Gloom, Despair, and Agony on Me. Oh, deep, dark depression, excessive misery. Oh, all right. I got that out of the way.
It's funny, Alexa from the site texted me this morning, and she said she could not wait to hear your rendition of that, so she knew it was coming.
She knew it was coming. That obviously comes from the old hee-haw, for those of you old enough to remember that, and obviously I've done that several times over the years on the podcast. Yeah, where do you want to start in this? I mean, it was a three-phase loss for sure in this one, and the funny thing about it is last night when going through the first run through of the TV tape and all, you get later on into the third quarter there, and this is very much anybody's ball game at that point. And there were a couple key kind of turning points in this game. Obviously, the interception in the end zone that would have put the Steelers ahead and might have changed the complexion of the game a little bit. Was a key component to that, and they couldn't stop the run in the second half, and the Seahawks throughout the game. I think one of the things that an untold story in this game was the Seahawks passing game. And even though the Steelers were able to get two interceptions in this game and were able to sack Sam Darnold twice in this game, he still posted over a 6.5 adjusted net yards per passing attempt number, and he kind of had his way pretty much in the middle of the field between the numbers in the second level. And then obviously there was the deep shot later in the game to, I think it was, who was that? Jackson Smith and Jigba that really flipped the field at an inopportune time of the game. And special teams wasn't great. You had the gaff by Caleb Johnson, and the thing really, the Ford Mustang was running well throughout the race until they blew an engine, and that engine really started to come apart later in the third quarter there, and then really came apart in the fourth quarter. And as a result of that, you end up with a 14-point loss.
My 30,000-foot view of this game, just very big picture, is the ills of Week 1 were perhaps improved upon, but only slightly in Week 2, and overall not corrected. The run game still not efficient enough, couldn't protect Aaron Rodgers the way Pittsburgh needed to. The run defense looked good in the first half, looked acceptable at least, and really fell apart in the second half, combined with what didn't happen this week that occurred last week, where your defense last week, as bad as they played, got key stops late, did not get those key stops in this game. That completion Sam Darnold had to A.J. Barner on 3rd and 9 with about 6 minutes left, Pittsburgh down 7, is a backbreaker. Those are the plays Pittsburgh at least made last week, did not occur this week, combined with other gaffes, Caleb Johnson being the most egregious of them all. That's how you end up with your first loss of the season.
Yeah, was that the play to Barner? Was that the one that Queen missed in the backfield?
Yeah, free runner up the middle. I know the running back got a slight piece of Queen, but that's a play that a guy like Queen has to make in that moment. It's the perfect scheme. It's there for the taking. Pittsburgh drops the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I guess we start the show off like we do on Monday with kind of the housekeeping portion of wrap up from the game, and that, of course, is brought to everyone by our great sponsor, Touring Plans. So tell the people about Touring Plans, Alex. They should
Yeah,
know a lot about them at this point.
they should. Our training camp sponsor for a long time on Steelers Depot, now with us every Monday for a housekeeping portion. We'll go through inactives and injuries and some of the minutia before and after the game before getting into the full details of this game. But Touring Plan's a great website. If you have a trip coming up to anything Disney related, Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line. I got a friend who's planning a trip. I think next September she wants me to go with her and her husband, but I'm like, it's Steelers season, so that's probably a no-go there. But it's a great resource. You have a trip upcoming for Disney to get restaurant reviews, how to save money on tickets, for lines, when is it the busiest, when is the park going to be the least full, because it's always full to some degree. Just going to be a really good co-pilot to help plan what are normally some pretty big trips to go see family, or the yearly outing to Disney that I know families take. So check out touringplans.com. And we thank them for being our sponsor of our Monday housekeeping portion of the Terrible Podcast.
Yeah, Lynn Testa does a fine job. Go download the app, and have it handy for yourselves. And like Alex said, anything Disney related, and that includes cruises, and you find out info on restaurants and everything imaginable. I wish I would have had Touring Plans in the past when I've made trips down there. So thanks to touringplans.com. Make sure to go there and bookmark their website as well.
All right, Dave, housekeeping portion of the podcast. 3 players inactive due to injury ahead of this game. 3 defensive players. Derek Carmen continues to await his NFL debut with the MCL sprain. He did not practice last week. Joey Porter Jr. with a hamstring injury despite early week optimism last week from Mike Tomlin. Porter did not practice throughout the week. He did not play. Ditto with Deshaun Elliott and his MCL sprain. One roster move elevation made pregame. That was John Radigan, the linebacker, core special teamer. We talked about him, Dave, you and I. Could he get the call up this week to help replace Malik Harrison snaps on special teams? I don't have the exact snap count on Radigan. I'm sure he played a decent amount here, Dave. If you could, I don't know if you have it pulled up either.
Yeah. Radigan played 6 special team snaps. Jabril Peppers, new to the team, was active. 7 special team snaps. No snaps on defense for Jabril Peppers in his Steelers debut.
And that's not a shock for a guy that just got here. Chuck Clark started. You expected that the whole way. No, Terrell Austin played coy about, we'll see who this starter is. It was going to be Chuck Clark. My only note on Jabril Peppers is he's wearing one of those Guardian caps on his helmet. It's the only note I have on him with that number 40 out there. But maybe he'll get some more burn for this Patriots game as he faces his former team this upcoming Sunday. From an injury standpoint, exiting this game, there's certainly some things to note here. Alex Highsmith and Isaiah Loudermilk, I should say, high ankle sprains per Mike Tomlin. Both of those occur pretty early in the game in the first half, and so Loudermilk already replacing the injured Derek Carmen, made the D-line even thinner. Highsmith exiting with an ankle injury. He showed up on last Friday's injury report with an ankle injury, did not have an injury designation though, so seemed to be very minor. Don't know if that's related or not, but Highsmith now could be looking at an extended absence as Pittsburgh just seemingly cannot get Highsmith and Watt and Herbig all healthy together for a full game.
All right, Patrick Queen got dinged up in the ribs in this one. I think Peyton Wilson had some heat-related stuff during the game. I think one time he puked on the field, actually. And then what was the note on James Pierre?
He had an arm injury late in this game, but he returned, so seems to be relatively minor for Pierre.
All right, so obviously the key names to watch. Alex Highsmith leads the list. The team just got back Nick Herbig from his hamstring injury, and in he comes, and then out goes Highsmith, and you would have to think that's numerous weeks. We'll have to wait and see if that ends up being something that ends up with him on IR for a while here. Loudermilk, high ankle, that's never good. But Highsmith, obviously the one to watch here, because you just get hurt. This comment almost feels like a repeat of last year, right? Yeah, had kind of a rotating door of the outside linebackers getting dinged up and missing time due to injuries there. So that could end up being a key one going forward here for the Steelers. And as far as the inactive list goes, after my poor week 1 start, Alex, I've rebounded. I was 6 for 6 on the inactives this week. So, but it was pretty cut dry based on what we saw in the first week, and then noting that there was already half of that list was ruled out with injuries on the Friday injury report officially. So I only had to come up with 3 more, and those were easy ones. No emergency quarterback, obviously, for this game either, because they only had 2 on the active 53-man roster due to Skylar Thompson going to IR this past week. And I imagine that will probably be the norm of this team only dressing 2 quarterbacks for the foreseeable future here.
That would seem so until the window potentially opens up for Will Howard and Skylar Thompson later this season. Report on Loudermilk right foot. Reporter said he was on crutches in a walking boot after the game. Obviously a bad sign there. I think there was one report that said Highsmith was initially on crutches, but then seen later without them. So take that for whatever it's worth. I believe Highsmith's injury came on that 24-yard completion to Arroyo on that boot Darnold had left side. I think Highsmith pulled up lame on that one. And Loudermilk got, it wasn't a cut block, but he got his legs taken out from underneath him. I believe that's whenever that injury occurred on him.
All right. I'll have to go back and see if I can find that one.
All right, Dave. 31-17 loss to Seattle. You know, I'm normally pessimistic. Alex, you guys know that. I'm usually scared of my own shadow and think about all the ways Pittsburgh can lose this game. But I came into this one feeling pretty confident, feeling like Pittsburgh's run defense was going to bounce back. They're at home. They're going to be able to win this game. And I felt pretty confident kind of throughout this game. Halftime, of course, you're up 14-7. You're not in a bad place. You're getting ball at the half. So you tell me, Dave, what did it all go wrong?
Oh, there were several kind of turning points, I thought, in this game. Uh, look, once again, you go through the TV tape and you're looking at a 14-14 score getting into the later portions of the third quarter there, and you just come off of a nice catch and run by Jaylen Warren, who I thought really had a strong game in this one. And you're down. Looks like this team's going to drive. They're a 3rd and goal type situation there, and Aaron Rodgers flushed and out to the left side. Tries to make a throw to Pat Freiermuth in the end zone, and Calvin Austin circled back into the play, thought he could make an attempt on the ball, and went off his hands and into the arms of a Seahawks defender there. And I thought Mark Sanchez had an interesting comment about that, and a right one at that. Calvin Austin brought ants to the picnic, and you could visibly see in the replay after the play, Aaron Rodgers kind of upset with Calvin Austin and says, "Look, if you're going to try to get back into the play in Calvin Austin's situation, you got to go towards the pylon, and in other words, take the ants away from Pat Freiermuth there." So look, it's hard. I thought Aaron Rodgers did a great job of both kind of reprimanding and propping his guys up in the post-game press conference with them, and teaching, learning moment in those type of situations. And if Cal's going to make an attempt on that play, he better make sure he catches it in that situation. And even if you don't, even if that ball goes incomplete, let's say to Freiermuth, at least you're kicking a field goal probably in that situation, or they could go for it in that situation as well. So I think that was obviously one key turning point. A little bit, I think it was earlier when the Nick Herbig interception was, and look, Cam Hayward obviously caused that by leaping up and tipping the pass. Herbig made a good play on the ball. If Hayward looks behind him instead of trying to, and it's easy for me to say sitting here in mom's basement here, but if Hayward tries to look back over his shoulder at who's coming, there's only one really defender coming from the backside there that can make that play on Nick Herbig. And if in the blocking, I think maybe, who was it? Sawyer, I think, coming, taking care of Sam Darnold and someone else on that side. But if Hayward looks behind him and takes care of that, even just kind of airplane blocks that guy coming, that's a pick six in that situation for Nick Herbig. So I thought that was a key point.
Well, Pittsburgh still scored on that and still drive, though, right? So,
Sure.
I mean, you still got got a touchdown out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's minor, but I'm just thinking of things
Mhm.
that kind of stick out to me here. And then you get in a situation when it's where it's you got the ball at around midfield, 4th and 1 from. Oh, what point of the game was that Mike Tomlin punted on? Was it from the 48, I guess, around midfield, 4th and 1 situation? Mike Tomlin decided to punt in that situation. He noted after the game that the attrition on the defense and this was Mike Tomlin once again sort of living in his fears and wanted to give his defense a longer field to work with and all like that. But the running game, if you can't pick up 1 yard in the NFL, what can you do? And you obviously see teams like the Eagles. How many tush pushes did the Eagles have
I
against
think
the
7.
Oh my God. If you can't pick up 1 yard in the NFL and key points of the game, so I thought that was a key turning point in the game. You obviously pointed out the play to Barner on the 3rd down situation. That was a key point in the game. And then, the kickoff, it goes without saying, you hold them to a field goal. What was the score at that point?
It was 17-14. Yeah, let's zero in on that play because that one is the most memorable. It's not the only issue, but it's the most egregious one. Caleb Johnson letting that kickoff go and Seattle jumping on it for the touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up a kicker touches the ball twice, and the opposing team gets 10 points, right? Actually 3 times, I guess, with the extra point. What a big swing in the game at that point because you're down only 3. They're kicking off, and you have a special teams gaff and a rookie at that. And it's just things that should not happen. And you can get into a chicken and egg type situation here. I'm sure Danny Smith had gone over the rules with these guys, but just merely giving it lip service, you got to drill those things home. Those guys have got to know these things verbatim of what they are. And you just can't let that happen. So there's a lot of blame to go around, and Mike Thomas said as a rookie making an unfortunate mistake in that situation, but I mean, what a key turning point in the game. You take you give them 10 points, and at that point you're really thinking, well, this one's gone at this point of this game.
For men of a certain age, it'll bring back memories of Barry Foster in 1990, who had a similar gaffe on a kickoff. Foster, as a rookie, admitted after the game he blacked out, thought it was a punt, called fair catch, let the ball go. San Francisco jumped on it. They did not score on the play. They recovered the ball around the 5 and then punched it in. If there is any sort of silver lining there, it's that life goes on, and this can hopefully be just an unfortunate footnote on his career. Barry Foster went on to be a 2-time Pro Bowler, still the single-season rushing holder for Pittsburgh. James Brooks had a semi-similar play in a wild card game early in his career against Pittsburgh. He knew to field the football, but he muffed it, and Pittsburgh recovered it for a touchdown. Brooks went on to become a 4-time Pro Bowler, so you hope that you can just learn and grow from it. But to the play, it was terrible, unacceptable. There's no getting around that. After the game, Johnson was asked if he knew about the rule. He said, quote, if I was sure, it doesn't matter. I still got to do what I got to do, and I still got to go in there and execute the way it needs to be executed. Tells me he either didn't know the rule or he didn't really understand the rule. I'm with you. I have to think it was gone over at some point by Danny Smith, but there's a difference between explaining the rule and explaining it to make sure the player understands it. And Matthew Marksy and Ross and myself were in the Discord chat last night. This has happened multiple times under Danny Smith, whether it's been safety kicks. Pittsburgh has had multiple occasions where they've let a ball hit the ground and the opposing team recovers. So this is not a one-off, one-in-a-century kind of thing under the same special teams coordinator. So I think a lot of flack has to go on Danny Smith too, because we have 3 or 4 instances. There was one thing against the Chiefs, maybe one against the Browns, where the opposing team recovered it, and that has happened too often. One time is too many, but 3-4 times even over a decade is far too many.
It's one thing to explain it and tell people about it, but it's another thing to make sure that they know it,
Yeah, and are you
So
repping it in practice too? You're not just explaining it academically, but are you working on it in practice? I don't know if they are or aren't, but if they aren't, that's a big problem.
right. And it goes without saying, huge. He knows it now,
Yeah.
after the fact, and look, I imagine he's going to keep a real low profile here for the next couple of weeks, and waiting for his next opportunity to redeem himself. And this is a kid on offense, rookie that hasn't touched the ball much outside of kickoff returns, hasn't gotten very many offensive snaps to date, and he's just going to have to find a way to put this by. He cannot let it define him right now, so he's going to have to understand that was a huge mistake on his part. Hopefully, he learns from it, and just don't let it impact him, and think about it moving forward. He's got to continue to progress, and hopefully he will.
But that was obviously a massive turning point in this game. We had a 24-14, and from there it felt like Pittsburgh really did not have much of a chance. That whole swing, though, goes back to the Tomlin decision to punt on 4th and 1. Those are all, I think, related. You had late third quarter, 4th and 1 at the Steelers 48 that you mentioned, Waitman punt. Seattle gets the ball. They go down, they kick a long field goal. Then you have the kickoff that Johnson doesn't field the touchdown. There's a big domino effect there. Who knows how this game turns out if Tomlin goes for it? And I think he should have, not only just because of the situation, 4th and 1 at about midfield. Pittsburgh was having success in short yardage situations. They had converted at least a pair of 3rd and 1s earlier in this game. The run game was not great, but it was better. The line was doing a decent job. That's a situation where I think you're justified in being a little aggressive.
What did Mike Tomlin say about the punt here? He says you had a 4th and 1 less than, or 4th and 1 or less than one at midfield in the third quarter. What was your thought process of kicking it from there? He said it was a 14-14 game. Neither offense was lighting it up at that juncture. As I mentioned, we absorbed some attrition on the defense, and so I wanted to protect that group and keep them on a long field.
I understand the overall sentiment, but by protecting the group, you're saying let's put them out there immediately instead of hoping to keep our offense on the field. Best way to protect a defense in that situation is to give them a chance to play with a lead. And Pittsburgh is not going to play with a lead a whole lot this season. They had the lead at half, of course, but I know hindsight's 2020. But even in the moment, I was saying go for it.
I was too. And Mike Tomlin claims that he doesn't live in his fears. You're going to you're probably going to, if you fail or if you punt, you're going to put your defense out there regardless.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's always the mindset Tomlin has had, as trust your defense. And some of that's been justified because, especially in recent years, the defense has been better than the offense. And so you rely on that unit more often. And as his defensive background, I think, would indicate, there's always a little more trust in the defense than there typically is for the offense. And that kind of lends himself to playing more of those conservative games and those rock fights that you talk about. This kind of felt like with that rock fight that Seattle ended up winning in this one. But let's start, Dave, with the offense for Pittsburgh. Just really, to me, no rhythm, no flow. I haven't pulled some of the numbers on first down success. The run game was better in this outing than it was against the Jets, but not significantly better. They leaned on more and more. Still giving Gainwell too many true traditional running back carries. He is not a between the tackles type of runner. He's better at everything else: receiver, returner, coverage guy. They're leaning on him, I think, a little too much there. The success has not been there in the past game. It felt like everything was just difficult. Nothing was easy and flowing and getting open. There was no real big schematic wins you were getting in week 1 against the Jets, still having trouble protecting Aaron Rodgers, staying on schedule, just really clunky and disjointed overall.
Yeah, when you look at the run game, and we talked about, or Mike Tomlin did right after that first game, about explosive runs of 10 yards or longer, 0 in that first game, and they only had 1 on Sunday against the Seahawks, and that was the last carry of the game with under a minute left by Kenneth Gainwell. So this team now has 1 explosive run of more than 10 yards, none obviously of 20 yards or longer, and it came game after the game was fully in hand and you're just running out the clock at that. So it starts at that point. I did think there was some nice runs by Warren, throughout the game. But once again, his long for a second consecutive game was 9 yards. Aaron Rodgers, I think, noted during the post game that Seattle basically was playing a lot of too deep safety shell, and the Steelers never could get them out of that, and that kind of muted what they probably wanted to do, at least in stretching the field. They didn't stretch the field all that much. I did think Aaron Rodgers on that kind of early-ish deep ball to Pat Freiermuth on the play that Calvin Austin was held on. Man, I mean, you're not going to find a better throw down the field in that situation. He dropped that right in the bucket to Pat Freiermuth, and Pat Freiermuth didn't hold on to that. You had a couple of early balls to DK Metcalf that it feels like you pay a guy that kind of money he should come down with. Both went off his hands. Now one of them was a bit contested, I think, but by Love, the second one. Now, Metcalf did rebound on kind of a 50-50 ball when Aaron Rodgers caught him on a free play, and he caught that, and he obviously caught the kind of another contested catch in the end zone for the touchdown as well in that situation. Rodgers, I thought, missed a couple of throws in this game, but there was never really any sense that the Steelers could push this football down the field through the air, even if you take out some of these drops and all. I think Aaron Rodgers ended up with a completed air yard distance of, what did I say, 3.8 or something like that. And his intended yard distance was a lot healthier. It's just the fact that he did not. Let me see if I can pull up his intended and his completed air yard distance. Completed air yard. Now, look, completed air yard distance obviously isn't everything. I mean, you had Josh Allen had a 3.8 in week 2 of completed air yard distance. Jalen Hurts had a 2.8 completed air yard distance. Aaron Rodgers had a 3.8. Which I believe was slightly up from week 1. And his intended air yard distance was I think one of the middle of the pack ones this year, 7.2. But the problem was he obviously wasn't completing enough balls down the field for whatever reason. He got away with one interception over the middle that I thought Scotty Miller did a good job of making sure the defender didn't come down with that ball up in the air. Obviously, the interception, the first one in the end zone. We talked about that. Calvin Austin, if he stays out of that play, I'll have to get a good look to see if maybe that ball gets completed to Freiermuth or not. I didn't look at that first thing this morning. But that one went off Austin's hands. And then the second one was just Aaron trying to make a play down the field and forcing the football in that situation there. But sacked a couple of times, never could really push the football down the field with regularity. It felt like if they were going to drive the football, they were going to have to go 10, 12 plays and maybe get help on defense and make sure they stayed clean on offense, which for the most part, from a penalty standpoint, if there's a positive to pull out of this, the Steelers weren't penalized in this game. But the running game felt like when there was success, it was pulling teeth, and the passing game just never could find any cohesion whatsoever. And then you get to a situation where for a second game in a row, I think the offense ran under 60 offensive plays, 59 in this game against the Seahawks.
And for the second straight game, the opponent won the time of possession battle, not as dramatically in this game as week 1. Pittsburgh having the ball for just under 29 minutes in this one, but Seattle still winning the TOP battle. And that's not the game Pittsburgh wants to play. What do you think of the offensive line in this one? I know we're still having to do our deep dive. The All-22 is just coming out here this morning. Any initial thoughts on the guys up front?
I didn't think Isaac Seumalo had all of that great of a game. I thought the offensive line play as a whole was a little bit better than week 1.
I think so too. I thought Tawny struggled some in this game. I talk about him dealing with power and inside rushes and counters is his biggest question and potential weakness. That felt evident in this one. I think he can set the edge against the outside speed guys. He's athletic. There's good length in his game. He's got a good base, but being able to mirror and adjust inside and deal with power as an undersized guy relative to offensive tackles is a problem. He gave up at least one quarterback hit, got called for holding on a 3rd and 2. And so not his best game. Broderick Jones takes a lot of heat. Fautanu doesn't get as much attention because of it, I don't think. But I think Fautanu did not have a great game in this one. Jones felt better, felt okay. I still think some of the general awareness from the defensive line or from the offensive line has to be improved upon. You see some of these 3-by-1 looks that Seattle will offer on rush downs, and those are clear signals of stunts and twists in games being run, and Pittsburgh not always handling those well. And so I still think Pittsburgh, they were okay, but there was nothing dominant, nothing take it to you. This offensive line needs to be against Seattle.
Yeah, they definitely. There were only a few instances where it felt like the offensive line got a lot of great push up front. I think a couple of those instances were down closer to the red zone area, down low. But and look, I thought Jaylen Warren played a good game. Heck, I mean that. Here's the thing. Here's another interesting stat when it comes to the Steelers passing game. 200 something yards through the air. 140 something of those came after the catch, and obviously 50 something of those yards came on one play from Jaylen Warren there. So this is a very, and look, you never want to discourage Yak, right? Yards after the catch, but it does feel like this offense is very Yak reliant right now. And if they're not getting the Yak in the passing game, they're still not able to push the football down the field. And until this team offensive line comes out and shows that they can dominate in the running game and push people around and get teams out of playing too high safety, you're probably going to see a lot of this where Aaron Rodgers ends up with a 3.8, 4.1 completed air yard distance, and then you're really relying on the offense having to put together long play drives and those sort of things there. So the offense has got a lot of wart. I mean, both sides of the football, a lot of warts on both sides of the football. And until this team shows, and there's no sign right now that this team can become the running team that they strive to become. There's just not, and we're going to have to see it for not just one game, but multiple games in a row until we start getting that feeling.
And we haven't seen that at any point of this season. Didn't see it in training camp, didn't see it in the preseason. Of course, haven't seen it in these first 2 games of the regular season. There's not even been anything you can point to throughout this year since Pittsburgh reported to Latrobe that can sit there and say that's a sign that they're at least capable and have shown there's some sort of proof, even if it is just training camp, even if it is just preseason that don't offer guarantees of regular season success. We can't even fall back on that. We just haven't seen it so far. Again, without watching the tape, it's hard to give a great and concrete evaluation, but just looking at the box score, the interior line production of Seattle in this one: Byron Murphy, sack and a half, 3 quarterback hits; Leonard Williams, half a sack, 2 quarterback hits; Jerron Reed, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit. That tells me that interior offensive line of Frazier, McCormick, Sayamalu struggled in this one. Now, there could be edge pressure that forced Rodgers to step up. I think Rodgers probably took at least 1 bad sack in this game. He felt a little antsy, would drop his eyes, ran himself into some trouble, looked more spry and mobile than the first game. You mentioned that great throw to Fryermuth that he has to catch on that. I think it was the opening possession of the game, but Rodgers felt a little more skittish, especially as the game went on.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know what more to add to that.
But DK, his hands, and I noted this in training camp, his hands are just okay. It's not the strength of his game. He's a guy that's great yak. He's big. He's physical. He's a unicorn in that sense. Run after ability, some of the stacking corners downfield. But in terms of reliable hands, they're just average. He had some drops in training camp. He's not always great in some of those contested moments. And I think that's been true throughout the first 2 games. And that's something people have to understand about his game.
Yeah, drops come along with him, and we've seen him so far through the first couple of weeks of the season. And I mean, he did make some contested catches in this game, but just batting 500 is not going to do it. You're going to have to see these drops try to decrease.
Right, because he's got to be the guy. And overall receiver production, even for an offense, it's going to spread the ball around to all of its eligibles. 5 catches for 49 yards between all of the Steelers receivers. Not the production you're looking for, especially DK with the 3 for 20. Did have the touchdown, which was that great contested catch, but you're looking for more overall from that unit after a good week 1 where you felt like your receivers, at least your top 2 of Metcalf and Austin, made a bunch of plays. Of course, Skoranek had the touchdown as well that day.
They spread the ball around to what, 8 different receivers, 9 if you can't count Darnell Washington on the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, that was a classic training camp play where you just let the big guy go up there and get it. I know Arthur Smith doesn't love, the fade ball, but I think that's a great moment to do it in, and it looked exactly the way it looked in training camp, where Washington just boxes out the opponent, whoever's covering him, leaps, makes the ball, or makes the catch for the conversion. So that's exactly how Pittsburgh's been drawing it up since Latrobe.
Yep.
But Warren, your leading receiver, far and away, 4 catches, 86 yards, a 65-yarder. That is at least the longest reception by a Steelers running back since 1978, as far back as StatHead's play-by-play data goes. Potentially the longest reception by a Steelers running back since Cannonball Butler in
Wow.
1966, I believe it was. So long time ago for him. But it's so deflating to have that big play, which was a great effort by Warren individually, some good blocking downfield, and then, of course, to come away not just without a touchdown, but 0 points on the interception. And you talked about it. Austin talked about it post-game. Rodgers discussed it post-game. Just poor scramble rule drills from Austin, getting bunched up there. I know it's a scramble drill. You just find an opening, but that pass is for Frymuth. I don't know if he catches it. If Austin is not there, that's going to be a tight play overall. But Austin tipping it up, getting it picked off by Kendrick, that is a huge moment in the game.
At the very least, you're coming away from that with the lead because of a field goal at 17-14, and you don't know the complexion that it changes and all like that. But look, they only scored 3 points in the second half, right?
Right, and that's not conducive to winning overall. Rodgers throwing 2 picks. It was a late interception to Kobe Bryant. Rodgers could have had one earlier in the game that he just never saw. The underneath defender threw it right at him. He fortunately dropped the football. I forget exactly when that was in the game, but did Rodgers play his best game? He certainly did not.
No, he did not overall. And once again, there was one play, I think, was it in the first half, to Darnell Washington over the middle, and not a lot of separation from Darnell in that situation there. But the pass was way out in front, and Darnell didn't even have a chance at it.
Yeah, that was, I think, maybe off a play action, that crosser working left to right. But Rodgers continues to take a lot of abuse. 3 sacks in this one, a lot of hits. I think 8 quarterback hits is what Seattle finished with. Rodgers tried to scramble, and then for some reason tried to hit somebody with a juke move and slow down and got crushed again that way. Said it last week, Dave, this is not sustainable. He's taking too much heat. He's taking too many shots for a 41-year-old quarterback. This can't continue.
The way, once again, if you're not able to run the football and you're unable to push the football down the field in the passing game, and you're relying a lot on yards after the catch, it makes for an uphill battle, because once again, it feels like you're gunning for 10 to 12 play drives, and no penalties, and overcoming negativity, and that's just it's not sustainable.
There's no stat available to see which quarterback has been hit the most in a season, is there?
Oh, I'm sure.
Not exist?
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I just don't have it pulled up. But I mean, he's not going to last some of these hits that he's taken. And then later on in the game, you see there was pressure and all, and it caused him to, I guess, hit his throwing hand on a helmet or whatnot. And nobody asked him about that wrist, I don't think, after the game, did they?
No, they didn't. He was shaking it out. I mean, I assume he's okay. He finished out the game, so had there been a severe injury or something broken, then he wouldn't. I mean, he didn't technically finish out the game. Mason Rudolph did, I should note. Came in the last couple plays, threw a couple of checkdowns, 2 completions, 12 yards, but I assume Rodgers is okay.
All right. Hopefully he is.
Guess we'll find out Tuesday when Tomlin speaks. He did not mention anything about a Rodgers injury post-game. Of course, first injury report will come out on Wednesday. What else for the passing game here, Dave? I know this one really grinds your gears, and I got to I'm going to put together the clips here soon. At least 3 second and 10 runs in this game, Dave, after first down incompletions. And the results of those runs, let me pull it up here. I jotted it down in my notes late last night. I might write about it or certainly tweet about it here in a little bit. But second and 10 runs, you gain 1 yard, 3 yards, and 0 yards. You punted on all 3 occasions on the ensuing third down. So second and 10 runs is very conservative football, and Pittsburgh felt very conservative in those moments.
Yeah, I think I even posted about the second and 10 on Twitter at the time there. And look, there, if you're able to run the football and know that you're able to run the football with some success and get 6 yards in in that situation, that's fine. But once again, there's been no reason so far throughout this season to think that this team should have enough confidence on second and 10 situations to run the football.
Pittsburgh 5 of 15 on third down for the season. They got to be sitting around 35%, probably. Let me pull up the stat. 36% on third down, 23rd in the NFL. They're 23rd on offense on third down. They're 23rd on defense on third down. So symmetry, you're not aiming for this time of year.
Let's see. Once again, the turnovers, killed you in this game. Not so much the last one by Rodgers, but he did get away with one earlier in the game on a ball that got that felt kind of forced, that got tipped up and fortunately not intercepted there. But look, I mean, Aaron can still sling it. I think we still see some good things with Aaron and the mobility aspect of him, although not great. He can still function. When that pocket does collapse around him, though, he's going to. You can't have. How many times has he been sacked already through 2 games? That's what, 7?
Yes, 7 times.
I mean that's nearly 2 a game. Or no, I mean that's nearly four a game, and if you go over a full season, you're up in that 50 category. And as we stated before the season started, I mean you got to keep them well under 40 in sacks. And right now, it just doesn't feel like this offensive line and this offense is going to be able to do that.
Right. It just, for me, nothing in the passing game felt easy, manufactured. You compare that to Seattle, that felt like they had a much better game plan, much more cohesion. And even in the first half, when their running game wasn't really getting a lot of traction, their offense was still able to move the ball. It felt like a little bit more effectively. In Pittsburgh, just everything felt difficult. And in the NFL, it's always difficult. You try to find ways to make it as easy as possible, get some first down wins, get some easy concepts, some quick reads, get the ball in space, get a little yak, I should say. I'm pulling Tarico here pregame with my words, but everything felt really difficult. Either that was the O-line not protecting, no one getting open, guys dropping balls, no one making tough catches. It's just a hard way to win when you're consistently having to make those difficult plays without anything easy to kind of get you going.
All right. Let's see. Their explosive plays yesterday were plays of 10, let's see, 10 longest plays. You had the obviously the dump off to Warren that gained 65 yards, with 50 plus of that being yards after the catch. You had the pass deep middle to Calvin Austin with 2:01 left in the game, and then you had the pass deep to Freiermuth for 20 yards.
Which also came late in the game, right?
Yeah, that was fourth quarter, 11:33 left, and your longest run was 13 yards. 3 of your 4 longest plays came in the fourth quarter. 2 of them with 2:01 or less remaining in the game.
Yeah, basically with the game over, you got a couple plays as Seattle was just letting you have it at that point. I know with the blunder, the easy answer is no, and I do understand why Caleb Johnson is not seeing the field much these first couple of games. We kind of warned that before the year began, but should they give him the ball as a runner a little bit more? Because the Gainwell experiment's not going well. The run game hasn't been great. I know the offensive line is really dependent, and you have to make sure those guys do their job for any back to have success, but shouldn't there be some motivation to give Johnson some sort of look That's why you drafted him in the 3rd round this year.
Well, it's easy to just give a cut, dry answer, but we don't know how he's coming along as far as knowledge. You just can't put the red flashing light on his helmet that every time he comes into the game, it's either going to be he's going to touch the football in those situations. And obviously, one of the things we talked about is how does he do with the football not in his hands. And throughout the preseason, you didn't have a lot of confidence, and I would imagine that's where they're at with him at this point. And if anything, and I think Aaron Rodgers kind of alluded to this during his post-game press conferences, maybe we need to think about more ways of getting the ball in Jaylen Warren's hands at this point. I said this last week about Kenneth Gainwell. I didn't think although I understand getting him touches throughout the start of the season, he had way more than what I thought he would in week 1. And then that carried over to week 2. And if you take the late 14 yard gain out by him yesterday, let's see, he had 5 carries for 20 yards. 13 of those came on one run. So let's call that 4 for 6 or 4 for what's there
7.
4 for 7 yards there, and then his catches 3 for 16. So 16 plus 7 is 23 divided by 7 touches then.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, we know he's a space player, and as a receiver, I'm fine with his involvement. As a runner, I think they're leaning on him a little too much. Yeah, I totally get, and we talked about it with Caleb Johnson, the know-how about being more than just a runner, as a receiver, as a blocker, knowing your assignment, facing some of these tough defenses, these aggressive fronts, protecting a veteran like Aaron Rodgers. But if you don't feel comfortable giving this guy more than 1 carry in a game, which is what he's got in his first 2 weeks, does that speak to a larger problem about, do you have the right guy?
I mean, it's still early. I don't want to draw any hard conclusions from this, but one of the key things that stuck out to me with him coming out of Iowa was the explosive run rate and the ability to run in more condensed situations with the heavier packages on, well, really all situations, but most notably 2 and 3 tight ends on the field. So I would imagine, or I would hope, by midway through the season, he's starting to have a bigger role in this offense of being the one absorbing those Kenneth Gainwell snaps.
I'm not saying to play the guy 30 snaps a game. I'm just saying get him maybe 2-3 carries in a game, let him get going a little bit, try to do something a little different to get this run game some sort of spark, because I think it needs it right now. I mean, I was happy overall with the involvement Warren had in this game. 18 total touches in this one for a game where you trailed late in the 4th quarter. I don't think that's a bad distribution to be sitting around 20 touches a game for Jaylen Warren.
Well, here's the thing. He definitely wasn't going to touch the football after that kickoff debacle.
Sure.
But I mean, that obviously was later in the game, and he played a total of 2 snaps in this game on offense. Caleb did.
And he played 2 snaps in the opener, too. I think he's got 2 carries for 0 yards right now. So I'm just spitballing ideas. I totally get the limitations on him, but I think he can play more than 2 snaps a game and get more than 1 carry a game. And if he can't, if there is that little trust in him right now as a runner, then I think we got another conversation to have about where he's at in his career.
Well, and you'll agree with it. There's more than just the fix of the Steelers' running game than throwing Caleb Johnson out there.
Oh, sure. Like I said, the offensive line has to do a better job. If your O-line's not blocking, it doesn't matter if Barry Sanders is back there. You're not going to make hay. But I'm just looking at different ways to. I just think Gainwell getting 5 carries a game to get me 2 yards a pop is not getting you anywhere.
Right. These touches from Gainwell need to go down in games.
Right. But they'll split, and we'll see what the distribution looks like coming off the scat for Caleb Johnson.
They ran pretty decent early in this game, some split zone stuff, but once again, you're not breaking any of these. These are 3-4 yard runs, and an occasional 7 or 9, but you're not seeing anything. We'll continue to talk about it until it doesn't happen with the explosive runs. When is this team going to get their first 20-yard run? Are we going to start seeing more of these 10-yard runs that are happening against the Steelers defense? Those are things that's stealing it's stealing whenever you get 20 plus out of a run. But you absolutely, it feels like if you're going to win a high amount of games, especially the way this offense is designed, that you're going to have 3, 4, 5 10-plus yard runs in a game, and so far we're sitting at 1, and even that one probably shouldn't count because of how late it came in this game against the Seahawks.
Sure, they need it. And I don't want to fixate on Caleb Johnson, but just one last point. Obviously, if there's not enough trust in him to play him, then you can't. But if there is, you got to show that, okay, we're not bailing on you, Caleb Johnson, even though you had a massive mistake in this game. You're still involved in the offense. We're not giving up on you, because I'm sure it feels like that for Caleb Johnson right now. The world's probably collapsing after that gaffe as a rookie in your second career game. So get him a couple offensive touches. Show that, hey, we're still with you. We're going to feed you the ball. We still love you, man. And if he's ready to handle that, then I think he should.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and you only have 3 running backs on the 53 right now, so you're not going to bench him. I saw one CBS guy says, I would bench him after this. Well, who you still
I
going?
mean, what's the difference? He's barely playing. I mean,
Yeah,
what's the difference between him being benched and him what he's getting right now?
sure.
So we'll see. We'll certainly be watching that distribution. And you're right. I mean, you would imagine over the course of the season, he'll get more involved. And you're right. This is not going to solve all the problems by giving Caleb Johnson 3 carries a game. But I think a little more involvement is good for him and maybe good for the run game as well.
All right.
Any other thoughts here on the offense, Dave?
Yeah, you just want to be able to see them start being able to push the football down the field in the passing game at some point. But as long as teams are able to play, two deep safeties, either as part of cover 2 or quarters or something along those lines, you're going to be muted until you can run the ball and force teams out of it. And we can hope all we want. Say, well, they'll get better, but the proof has got to be in the pudding. This offense absolutely has got to be able to run the football with success, with some regularity, before you're going to start seeing, on a consistent basis, this offense be able to put up points.
That pudding cup looking pretty empty right now, and you're right. The way to be too high is run the ball. You got even box counts, probably. Maybe you're +1 in those situations. You can't run the ball in those moments. Man, that's a big problem.
Uh-huh.
All right, Dave, flipping over the defense, they have their own share of problems. The run defense, better in the first half. I think there was a little more success early on, stopping frontside runs, focusing in on Walker and Charbonnet, no threat of the quarterback. Even Jalen Milroe did not dress in this game, but they were getting gashed in the second half. And yes, those injuries, they're losing some people. No Elliott, no Harmon, of course, Loudermilk, Highsmith. You had your inside linebackers beat up, but bottom line is the bottom line. Kenneth Walker, 13 carries, $105, 8.1 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, the 19-yard run on 3rd and goal to really seal the deal. Not good enough, Dave.
No, it's not. In the first half, you go back through it, and you hate to cherry pick all these things because you could go through every game and cherry pick. But here are the runs for the Seahawks and yardage gained in the first half by run: 1 yard, 13, 0, 0, -1, 1, 2, 2, 9, 3, 5, -2, and 6. Now, that doesn't tell the full story because a couple of these runs were in short yardage situations and they picked up, they were successful in the fact that they picked up first downs, but it wasn't, you had the 13-yard run on the second play, second run of the game, and then you had a 9-yard run. But for the most part, I mean, you at least had some optimism that it was moving in the right direction overall. Now, even on, I think about halfway through the third quarter, later in the third quarter is when the wheels obviously started to come off on this, and then most definitely in the fourth quarter. And to give up a 19-yard give up run in a 3rd and goal situation for a touchdown and virtually untouched at that to the left side is just embarrassing. And one of the Seahawks bloggers, and I have not checked this, I was kind of wondering maybe if you had this in your stats of the weird, you might want to add it to it because it's quite interesting. How rare was the Kenneth Walker TD run against the Steelers? No player had ever scored a TD on a run of 19 plus yards in a 3rd or 4th and goal to go situation in NFL history.
Yeah, that is definitely a quality stat of the weird, and that one hurts in a lot of ways on that play. And Walker talked about it post-game. He said, I barely had to make anyone miss. It was a little kind of crack play. They cracked down the outside linebacker, Nick Herbig. Peyton Wilson trying to scrape over the top. He can't get there. And there just really was not much resistance on a third and forever kind of give up play by Seattle. Let's get some yards. Let's kill some clock. Let's kick the field goal. Still go up 2 possessions. And Walker basically waltzed into the end zone.
Right. And let me see if I can sort this out real quick here on the second half runs that the Seahawks had. Go ahead and vamp for me for just a moment here.
So Seattle finishing the game with 117 yards. Pittsburgh's allowed 299 yards rushing over the first 2 games, which seems kind of appropriate given they allowed 299 in one game in the wild card loss to Baltimore last season. Now, the fourth time under Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh's allowed 299 or more on the ground through the first 2 games of the year. All have happened since 2014. It happened only 3 times under Chuck Noll. Never happened once under Bill Cowher. And so the run defense has really started to wilt more and more consistently over the years.
All right. The second half yards gained on the run for the Seahawks: 9, 15, -1, 5, 5, 0, 3, 20. Which one was that? That was off left tackle. Was that the double pancake one? Might have been.
I think.
3, 0, 1, 0, 19 for the touchdown. And then after that, it was all just kill the clock. -7, 1, and 5 after that. So you had a 15, a 20, and a 19. So 3 of their runs, I think all by Kenneth Walker in the 3 of the runs in the second half, all 3 by Kenneth Walker, and really you can add a 4th one as well too. 24, 44, 63 yards on 4 runs by Kenneth Walker of the second half runs.
And that just shows the difference. You look at him and his 100-yard outing and Zach Charbonnet, the other running back who averaged less than 1 yards per carry, 15 carries for 10 yards. Granted, he got some of the grunt work late in the game on that last possession when the game was essentially over, but Walker is more of that slashing, one-cut zone runner, and Charbonnet's kind of more the hammer, and Pittsburgh can stop the hammer, but they can't stop that zone type of runner, like a Breece Hall, like a Kenneth Walker in the zone scheme, which didn't have great success in the first half. Walker at the one backside cut on that 13-yarder early in the game, but they were able to really find success in the second half on some of those zone runs. I think Pittsburgh was also just out of position. The one you mentioned, double pancake, that was the fullback. We talked about him a ton. He took 2. He took out Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen, but Pittsburgh is stemming away right before the snap. Not even set. Hayward doesn't have a stand on the ground, and so they're stemming away from where the run is going. They were at a bad numbers advantage on that play. It just, schematically and certainly in execution, it was a problem.
The whole defensive front seemed to start to wear down in that second half, looking like they were tired, and maybe that played a part in Mike Tomlin in the 4th down decision. But they looked like a lot different unit, specifically against the run coming out at halftime. Because once again, their first 2 runs in the second half, 9 on a 1st and 10. And then 15 on a 2nd and 1 there. And it once again they had 2 more explosive runs out after that of 20 and 19 yards, and 19 obviously being the touchdown virtually untouched.
Pittsburgh's allowed 10 runs of 10 or more yards through 2 weeks. Only the Bills, the Giants, and the Vikings have allowed more. Pittsburgh only allowed 43 such runs last year, 43 or 45. Pittsburgh's already allowed double digits through 2 games. You've yet to play any divisional games against Baltimore and the like. They can certainly run the ball at will.
And look, it wasn't just Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen either, because I think Holcomb was getting pushed around. Early on, Loudermilk obviously went down injured in this game early, but he was getting pushed around anyway. And I don't know what play how many plays did he even make it through? Not many.
6. Yeah, I mean, he was fine. I mean, he was just there, but I mean, they weren't running the ball great. They were stopping the run when Loudermilk was still in there. Y.A. Black, I got to watch him.
He was on his back a couple of times.
Yeah, and kind of slow off the football. I thought some of his get off could have been better. So he played a lot of snaps in this one. Had to. They were getting thin on defensive line. Logan Lee had to play a decent amount of snaps. I don't have the exact snap count. I can pull it up here in a second, but Quale was playing more, playing some defensive end. You're getting pretty deep in your bench there, which was not helping matters.
Do you have the defense charted yet? I
I
guess you
do.
wouldn't. I would, yeah, but I guess you wouldn't have the offensive personnel. I wonder.
I have the offensive personnel for Seattle.
Yeah.
Yep, I have their personnel.
How did Seattle run out of with Outson on the field?
Give me 1 second. I can pull it up. They didn't run any pony with Charbonnet and Walker both on the field, correct?
I don't remember both those guys, but I haven't gotten I haven't looked at the charting to see if they had those as part of like a 21 or anything like
Yeah,
that.
I should, because I don't specifically designate pony. I probably should do that, but I don't believe they had those both guys on the field in this game, at least in terms of running the ball. Now, give me 1 second here. I can pull it up,
Yeah.
Dave. Now, there may have been some late game stuff on that final drive where they had fullback out there that may have inflated or skewed the numbers a little bit, but they were in some sort of 21 or 22 personnel, a total of 22 times in this game, Dave. Now, how many runs was that? Let me sort that for you and make sure I have no penalties on. It was 12 carries for 30 yards, but that also includes the final three of that -7, 1 and 5. So they had a 20-yard run out of it. That was a double pancake we keep mentioning. So they didn't have particularly
Okay, how many of their explosive runs of 10 yards or more came with Outson on the field then?
just one per my charting,
Okay.
20-yard run. They had a 9-yard run as well in the second quarter.
All right, and I imagine that's the one that Outson got the double pancake on, right?
Yes, yes. And it probably could have been longer. Kind of ran into his own receiver. Ramsey was kind of pushing him and kind of helped create the collision there, but there really wasn't a shoot tackle by Pittsburgh on that play.
All right, they're gonna. It goes without saying they're gonna have to find a way to fix this run defense. But wait, there's more. The pass defense wasn't all that in this game either. And I started at the top of the show saying that, despite Sam Darnold having 2 interceptions and being sacked twice, he still posted over a 6.5 adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat. They were getting gashed quite regularly towards the middle of the field, and maybe they were keying on a lot of this was probably the getting the linebackers reading run and getting sucked in on the play action, but a lot of quick slants, a lot of stuff towards the middle of the field at the second level. They gave up far too many of those, especially on third down situations as well too. We saw them get beat in almost the same exact kind of Yankee type play for a touchdown with Ramsey in coverage this time. The Ramsey interception was absolutely fantastic, and then Ramsey also had another separation on a breakup on a play out to the side there. That was a notable moment on this, but Ramsey gave up quite a few receptions in this game as well, in addition to that one really, really backbreaker down the middle of the field to Jackson Smith and Jig in later in the game there as well. So it wasn't just all about the run. You just can't say, well, it was only the run, because the passing game, the pass defense wasn't holding up their end of the bargain either.
Yeah, I thought Seattle had a really good game plan at an empty. I got to check the empty stats, but I felt like Seattle was cooking. They would spread Pittsburgh out. They would get a clear picture for Sam Darnold and then win over the middle consistently. And Pittsburgh could not take the middle of the field away. We talked about that. Smith-Njigba made a lot of plays over the middle on those deep digs in week number 1 against San Francisco. Other guys got involved. Kupp, Horton had a touchdown on the Yankee concept. You're right, same thing. Cornerback out leverage. They're not cutting it. The safety's not taking it. You're putting the cornerback in a really tough spot there, and it's a touchdown to Torrey Horton for, I believe, 21 yards. Play action to Arroyo, easy play there for 24 yards. Stuff that Seattle did that Pittsburgh could not do. So I think schematically, Pittsburgh did not have many answers here. Even their pressure packages weren't as effective as they probably could have been.
Right, and when Sam Darnold needed time, he had some nice pockets within there, and other times when he was able to dissect stuff and get the ball out. How many early slants in this game did we see from him to Kupp and to Jigba? But we talked about if the Steelers lost this game, what would it look like? And we talked about Jigba probably having a big game, and he obviously did. 8 receptions for 103 yards. Kupp had a very Cooper Kupp type of legacy game, I guess. 7 catches for 90 yards in there, but nobody else caught more than 2 balls. Now, Torrey Horton did one of his catches was an explosive play, and Arroyo, one of his 2 catches was an explosive play, and even Barner almost an explosive play on one of his 2 catches there. So when they got the other eligibles involved, not named Jigba and Cup, they were explosive. They were 50-50 on explosive plays to those guys. And one of those ones I think you noted about the play that maybe Highsmith got injured on. They did a good job of setting the Steelers up in week 1 tape to expect those kind of toss, because that was a fake toss over to the other side and Highsmith gets sucked in. There's nobody out to the left side over there, and that was an easy pitch and catch to the backside that fooled the Steelers. Boy, you had Peyton Wilson flowing over to that other side. Just nobody on that other side. You have defensive backs coming up and having to force them out of bounds.
I know that Seattle on third down for the entire game didn't look great, 6 of 14, but they were in 3rd and 6 plus 12 times, I should say. 3rd and 6 plus 12 times. They converted 4 of those. And to me, that's not a good percentage for the defense. And even hidden in that is on a 3rd and 12 in the second quarter, they had a dig over the middle to Horton for 11 and then went up for it on 4th down and converted. So that basically got them in a situation where they felt comfortable going for it on 4th down, a 3rd and 14, where they hit Walker for 13 yards and nearly converted that way. So the 3rd and long defense, even if some of the overall numbers look acceptable, I didn't think was very good in this game. And Pittsburgh could not prevent Darnold from being able to rhythmically throw over the middle and consistently complete.
And both the sacks on Darnold were kind of manufactured, right?
I'm trying to think.
Well,
Wilson was a good play.
Wilson was a green dog, right?
I think, he came up free up the middle. It was a good play. I'm not sure if that falls under the manufactured bucket you're talking about, but that was a good play. Sawyer, that was late in the game. It was a fine rush. They were kind of doing different stuff with Sawyer in this game. Some 3 linebacker packages.
Watt took the tackle upfield, and then that left the lane for Sawyer.
Yeah, they were doing different stuff. They were running some kind of 4-down fronts with Sawyer as a defensive end before running true 4 defensive lineman fronts late in this game to try to get some run stops. They had that Bronco package early on. I feel like every time they try the Bronco package, somebody gets hurt early in the game with Herbig and Highsmith and Watt to try to get additional pressure on 3rd down, kind of amoeba, 1 defensive lineman, 3 outside backer looks. And I'm not sure if Sawyer was super involved in those later in the game, but they had him out there as kind of an extra linebacker in some more run specialty situations. But yeah, 2 sacks. The pressure was okay, but it just didn't feel to the level it needs to be.
Nope. And how many sacks now does this team have through 2 games?
3.
It's a long way to 50.
I want to get to beat 40, which is where they were at last year, and right now they're on pace to probably not even do that. Haven't done the math, but yeah, and you did not get the stops late. And I go back to that 3rd and 9, 24-17. Seattle has the ball in their territory. I forget exactly where. It's a good call. They get their backup center in because their center had just gotten hurt. They kind of blow protection. Queen, clear shot up the middle, running a stunt with Watt. He's drawn eyes, and you can't make the play. And Wilson doesn't have great contain, and Barner leaks out, and it's completed, and Sam Darnold's looking like Lamar out there with his escapability, and that's a backbreaker.
Yep, it is. But without a doubt, this was definitely a 3-phase loss, no doubt about it.
It was, yeah. No one feels good about their unit exiting this game. Some other odds and ends. Carson Bruner getting his first NFL defensive snaps. He at least had 1 after Queen and Wilson were unavailable. Cole Holcomb getting his first defensive snaps in a game since November of 2023 when he suffered that terrible knee injury that cost him the rest of 23, all of 2024. Man, on the one play, I know he's just getting back, but he played in the preseason. I think it was a 3rd down to Walker I mentioned earlier where they fell 1 yard short. Holcomb was just watching, just waiting for Kenneth Walker. I'm like yelling at the TV, "Get downhill, Holcomb. Like, you have to go attack the guy." And fortunately did not allow a first down, came super close, but kind of a moment of Holcomb, I guess, knocking off some rust. But you got to play downhill, my man.
Yeah, that's why I said even, regardless of the inside linebacker that you're putting on the field, especially in the second half, that unit was worn down, not making plays at the second level against the run.
Ramsey, you're right, gave up some stuff, at least made some impact plays. The pick was nice. He was initially not given credit for the field goal miss, the doink by Myers, then given credit for a block. Then they took it away. I don't think he got a hand on it, but he maybe impacted and kind of distracted the kicker enough to help influence the miss. Had a breakup as well in this game, so a couple of nice plays, but he gave up his fair share as well. What else? Darius Slay, I thought, had a decent game, couple of breakups. I thought he played good football.
I tell you, Mike Tomlin said in the post-game press conference, we made, in the first game, we made some key plays later in the game, and in that week one game against the Jets, and then this one, it was the Seahawks making plays. As bad as the Steelers really had played through the first, 2.5 plus quarters in this game, you still turn it around at your, 14-14 game, and then even after the field goal prior to the kickoff, it's 17-14 with most of the fourth quarter yet to go, and then they kick off, and then the game really got away from you at that point. So they were in this game until they weren't. But I mean, they had a chance to win this game in the fourth quarter and just fell apart.
Did make the plays, did not make the plays they made last week, and that's a difference in this game for a Steelers team that generally plays some pretty tight games overall. One I don't want to call it a small thing, but one maybe under the radar thing. Pittsburgh's done a nice job of scoring before the half. They did it at week 1, they did it at week 2, but they're not bookending that by scoring after getting the ball to start the third quarter. That happened against the Jets. They got the ball at the start of the second half. They didn't score. Happened again against Seattle. I mean, you're up 14-7 at the half. You get the ball to start the third quarter. You have a chance to really kind of change the tone and tenor of that game. And I forget the exact drive here for Pittsburgh. I'm going to pull it up here to start the third quarter.
Well, they got a first down by right out of the chute on the 3rd-and-1 run by Jaylen Warren, and then even on the first play, 1st and 10, Gainwell 5 yards, and then you were in another short yardage situation. And then Fautano has they only had 2 penalties, and Fautano got one of them right there on the holding call, and then that's the one also I think where Aaron Rodgers did he ground it on that play? No, it was declined. Oh, they declined the penalty because it was incomplete pass to Austin, so that set up a 4th and 2 at the 36, and then they punted from there.
Right, and that's just not good enough. So against the Jets, you had to start the second half, you didn't get a first down there. That was the one where Warren got 9 yards. You had to delay a game, and you ended up having to punt. And this one, you pick up 1 first down, but can't do anything from there. Those are really key situational moments where you can flip a game on its head. Pittsburgh could not do. That's not the reason why they lost the game. You're still up 14-7 in that moment. You still feel like you can win that game, but that's stuff that I would like to see Pittsburgh improve upon in those moments.
And then after they punted, Seattle went down and got the tying touchdown.
Did they? I didn't even look at the ensuing thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they tied it up there on the Barner touchdown. I thought Darnold was good off of play action. I thought Queen was kind of in a blender trying to find where Darnold was going to go with the football. He did a nice job moving people. Darnold did, moving the Steelers defenders. Looking at the Steelers defensive line, Dave, where is the impact plays? Cam Hayward, 1 tackle for loss, no quarterback hits, of course, no sacks.
He did have the tip that led to the interception for Cam Hayward.
He did, yeah, and that was a great play and a great job by Herbig and a big 4th down moment there, so kudos. But overall, not getting enough impact plays. Keanu Benton, 3 tackles, 0 tackles for a loss, 1 quarterback hit, 0 sacks. Loudermilk has only played 6 snaps, but didn't have a tackle at all. Has not registered on the box score before getting hurt. Y.A. Black, no tackles for loss, no quarterback hits, no sacks. I mean, you're just not getting that, consistently splashy D-line production.
Right.
And I know Harmon's out, but still, you got some guys there who can make some plays. They're not making enough plays.
Well, keep your fingers crossed that this is the week that Harmon can get back into the fold playing some snaps.
I hope so, but he has not practiced in now, 3 or 4 weeks? He has not practiced since the injury, of course. And is he going to get all the way back to go play in this game? And even if so, how many snaps is he going to get? I imagine there'll be a snap count with him as he gets his legs back under him. Last stat for you, Dave. In the kick return game, the Seahawks averaged 26.6 yards on 5 returns. Pittsburgh, 19.5 yards on 4 returns. And I don't believe the Johnson gaff counted against him as a return. And so that's not related to, it's not being skewed because of the no return issue that he had there. So
did Holani establish? I don't want to.
I have the same thought.
Did he establish possession in the end zone?
It didn't feel as obvious as the game made it out to be, where it felt like, did they even secure the football? I hadn't gone back and watched that.
Is that automatically reviewed?
Yes, all scoring plays are reviewed. They looked at it, yeah. I mean, they have to, yeah, he had to have. There's no way they botched it that bad, but it did feel like, because initially whenever they first made the initial ruling, I was like, did they really recover the ball? Like, did they actually
fall on it? And then he flipped it back, like, real quick, too. Like, okay, I had it. Look, I'm splitting hairs here, but I did, after going back and watching the TV tape last night, I said, damn, did he really have that?
But I guess,
did he slide out of the end zone?
Right. But as soon as you grab it and you have possession, it's touchdown right there. You don't have to complete it and you have to roll or hold it for more than a split second, I guess. So that's probably what it was. I assume it was correct. I hadn't gone back and looked at it. It's too painful to watch.
Right.
But, but even putting that play aside, your kick return game, under these new rules, 19.5 yards, or longer 24. You're not winning field position that way. Seattle had a couple of returns out at or past or close to the 35-yard line. Pittsburgh did not. And those are hidden yardage that's not swaying your way. Under this new format since last year, Pittsburgh's been a mess in terms of returning on this dynamic kickoff format. They were 32nd in kick return average last year. Well, I'll check where they're at right now. It's not great, I'm sure. I mean, that's stuff that matters.
Go back and watch a couple of those returns that Johnson had and watch Gainwell. What the hell is Gainwell doing?
Oh, is he not doing
anything? It
doesn't
look like he's actively searching for somebody to put a helmet on.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, something's not right there. I'm trying to find, where do I find kick return stats for the season? Where does Pittsburgh
Now, look, kick returns are not, I mean, well, they are part of the reason they lost the game, that one specific, but on the other ones, it needs to get better. It's not, the returns that they did have were not the reason they lost the game, but it goes into the point that this was a 3-phase loss.
Yeah, no, it's a hidden yardage thing. It adds up. If your opponent's consistently starting 5 yards in front of your offense, and it's not like Pittsburgh has the greatest show on turf right now, I think it all adds up. They're 20th right now, so it's not terrible. Sample sizes are small. I mean, Houston's last, but they literally have one kick return so far, so more to evaluate, but it's just not been good over these 2 years under this new format.
Boswell had a good game, and Waitman had a good game.
Yeah, there's some special teams. Boswell, 2 from 48 and 1 from 45. He's made his last 13 field goals. Waitman, he got too much juice on that one punt, and he just was rocketing that one that basically hit at the goal line, but 55-yard, I think, gross average or so. I don't know what the net was, but it was pretty good overall.
All right, I think we went through all 3 phases. I've watched the first half on all 22, and we'll get into the second half here later today, and we'll go through the all 22 on the Wednesday show from this.
All right, Dave, some final odds and ends. This would have been a really good week to go 2-0, especially so because the Bengals season looks like it's changed dramatically. The Bengals are 2-0. They are currently your divisional leaders, but it comes at a great cost. Joe Burrow apparently going to need surgery on a turf toe injury that's going to keep him out at least 3 months, which is effectively almost the entire season. He will not play against Pittsburgh this season. Those games are, week 7, and I think a couple weeks later after
11,
that.
7 and 11.
7-11. So unfortunate for him, but the AFC North still pretty open. Baltimore 1-1 even though they didn't have a great statistic advantage against Cleveland, they did blow out the Browns, and so they're 1-1. Cleveland 0-2.
Here's the thing when it comes to now look, Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy looked like Charlie McCarthy. Do you know who Charlie McCarthy was?
I do not.
He was the dummy of Edgar and Charlie with the old in the 50s McCarthy. I tried to make a joke. It didn't go over real well because of my age. But
that's not me. I'm not your audience.
Here's what's up for the Bengals next: Vikings, Broncos, Lions, Packers, and then Steelers.
Ooh, that is a tough slate.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but the Ravens are still the Ravens. Still, I'm sure the favorites for the AFC North crown, but Would love to go 2-0 in a week where the Bengals are, really hurting right now.
Certainly changes the complexion of Steelers versus Bengals the rest of the way.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's gotten to avoid Burrow a fair amount. Remember, Jake Browning, who's going to replace Burrow, made his first career start against Pittsburgh after that, I think, wrist injury that Burrow had a couple of years ago. So, still no guarantee Pittsburgh will win those games. They got to certainly clean up their own problems, and that Bengals game is still a long ways away.
And look, they're playing a New England team coming off of their first win and a team that's going to try to run the football.
Yeah. I mean, the Patriots put up 33 yesterday. They had a kick return touchdown as part of that. So special teams aiding them in victory. There's certainly no gimme here for Pittsburgh.
All right, shall we get to some emails here? And plus, you told everybody about the live stream tonight?
I didn't. I'm always so bad about that. We have a live stream tonight, YouTube, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Just search my name on YouTube, and Dave and I will answer your questions until 8 p.m. as we have the doubleheader. I do not like the doubleheader Monday night format,
tough.
but we got 2 tonight.
All right, this one from Beth Weaver titled Nose Tackle. The answer is yes. A run stuffing nose tackle is vital. If you don't have one, you get run over. If you do have him, he stands on the sideline because they stay out of big packages. Still vital on goal line, short yardage, tush push. I really can't believe they don't see the need. Think about Casey Hampton in his prime on this team today. How would he change our run defense, and would that be worth it? Absolutely be worth it. Beth writes, especially with smaller, fast inside linebackers. If you don't have a guy like that, don't you want bigger, stronger inside linebackers? Well, then you run into the case of look, I mean, if you have bigger linebackers, then you worry about them in the passing game, yada, yada. But this front is not built to protect these run and chase linebackers. And that's one thing that's been evident through the first 2 weeks of the season here. And then you flip it over and you see in their 4 down front that Seattle had, the way those guys are able to anchor against the run and hold the line of scrimmage. And then you watch at least, the first half of the Seahawks, all 22, and Benton get turned out a hole, and Loudermilk getting pushed around. And I mean, point taken that teams are gonna get the Steelers out there in that base defense and dare them to stop the run and continue to try to run on them in those situations until the Steelers prove that they can stop it. And there's big questions about the nose tackle spot right now when it comes to the Steelers entering week 3.
And you're missing an Landon Roberts type of hammer. I know Malik Harrison was supposed to be some sort of shade of that, and he's on IR, but he's still not what Roberts was able to bring. But also recognizing your problems run deeper than just in a Landon Roberts away.
All right, now we got our first call out for Munchak from Nathan Casey. At what point do the Steelers realize that with all the pedigree they have on the offensive line, their blocking is not good? Does anyone think that Aaron Rodgers will be successful if he's constantly under duress and the team can't run the ball? This isn't even mentioning depth on the O-line, where we are a heartbeat away from Calvin Anderson on the blind side. There aren't really any super promising young guys waiting to take Sayamalo's job either. They need to make Munchak a highly paid consultant ASAP. If line play continues to be below the line, then fire Meyer in season. All these win now personnel moves mean nothing if you can't block for the run and pass. Rolling with Meyer the rest of the year to me is extreme hubris and penny pinching. Look, we don't even know what Munchak's up to right now, but even if they brought Munchak in off the street right now, how much would that help?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, what kind of latitude would he have in that role? You still have your head offensive line coach, Pat Meyer. Not looking great for Pat Meyer to come back in 2026, but we'll see where things go.
Right. Look, I mean, it goes back to what we said ahead of this game. At no point do you get the feeling that his offensive line rolls out there and feels like they can assert their will on the opposition and push them back. And Aaron Rodgers cannot continue to get hit at his age like this. If he does, he's not going to make it through the season. The run game, if they're not able to run the football, is going to take away the effectiveness of what they want to do on offense. And it all stems together that this offensive line is just not good enough right now.
But trenches on both sides. Not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, both sides, exactly.
And that's fundamental. It's foundational to any football team, but especially to the team Pittsburgh aspires to be. And you're not going to win until those things get a whole lot better.
All right, Ryan writes in on Terrell Austin. At what point does TA start taking any heat for the way the defense has been blown out of the water by good teams / in the biggest games? Eagles twice, Ravens twice, 49ers, Bills twice, Bengals, Chiefs, etc. And it's not just the good teams. The Colts ran it down our throats 12 to 13 times to end a game one time. And this year, the Jets and Seahawks are not considered elite teams by any means, and they've both had 100-yard rushers. I know overall defensive numbers look okay when you zoom out. Actually, they don't. and I'm not saying he's as bad as Matt Canada, but with everything that's been invested in this defense, I don't understand how he really doesn't take very much heat given how many times this defense has been out-schemed and physically dominated. Mike Tomlin obviously plays a huge role in that as well, too. But I mean, yeah, point taken. Both sides of this football, and it starts in the trenches. And once again, it's easy to point to the run defense in this game against the Seahawks, but I did think the first half was acceptable, at least, or better than what we had seen coming out of the Jets game. It did fall apart in the second half against the run, but throughout the game, this team was getting beat in the passing game in the second level. And then look, Justin Fields, I thought in that first game made a lot of great throws, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
in this game, Darnold was making throws that were a lot easier throws, in there. So it feels like the run game not only didn't get better, entirely, but it felt like the pass defense regressed in this second game.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I thought Darnold was a little more rhythmic, on time, in structure, having success. Fields was a little more third read, second read, out of the pocket, extend the play, making some plays that way, kind of big picture. Yeah, I mean, Austin, I think he takes a lot of heat on, at least on social media, whatever that's worth, but Tomlin's influence in running the defense, still the man responsible for that. I think the team will look at it and say we have some injuries right now we're trying to battle through, and some guys are getting hurt. There's some attrition we're dealing with. I mean, that's not an excuse, obviously, but I think that's probably how the team is evaluating its own performance right now, hoping, once Harmon gets back and hopefully the group gets healthy overall, that there'll be better results. But yeah, I think Austin certainly should take some heat. I mean, right now, through 2 games, it's only 2 games, but they're 29th in scoring defense. They're 22nd in rush defense from a yards per attempt standpoint. They're 28th in yards, 30th in touchdowns allowed. It's pretty ugly right now.
Zach writes in from Salt Lake City, beautiful area up there, as well too. I really enjoyed my trip over there and up to Park City. Beautiful up there. Gentlemen, thanks as always for your coverage. Truly the best in the business. I had a lot of concerns for this team that I'm sure you have covered in depth, but I have a personnel question that I wanted to raise. I've become completely against Connor Hayward playing on offense. He isn't a weapon he says he isn't a weapon when it comes to pass catching, route running, and is overrated as a blocker. I don't know if anybody's ever overrated him, Connor Hayward, as a blocker. We've talked about when he's asked to cut, especially on some split zones type stuff, he's adequate. I don't think either one of us has overrated Connor as a blocker. He is. I mean, he can catch a football. Now they just don't use him in the passing game. Anyway, he goes on to say he had a few complete whiffs on blocks versus the Seahawks. He only played 4 snaps versus the Jets, so I was encouraged, but he seemed to play a lot more versus the Seahawks. He says he ran some numbers. And to that point in the season, there were 22 first down plays last season with Connor Hayward on the field. The Steelers averaged only 1.7 yards per play and 1.3 yards per carry on those 22 first down plays. What is your opinion on Connor Hayward playing on offense? Are you seeing anything on the all 22 that I'm missing on the TV tape? Just seems like it's an easy adjustment. They can still run a lot of 13 personnel while keeping him on the field in offensive snaps. How many snaps did Connor play yesterday?
9. And some of those came on that last drive where he caught his pass
Right.
when the game was over.
Right. So, look, am I for Connor Hayward having to play double-digit snaps in a game? No. And I don't think you're going to get argument out of either one of us. How many do you think came late?
I mean, however many were probably on that last possession, the
4?
3 or plays that they ran. I mean, he was out there earlier. They ran that one swing to, I think, Jonnu, where he was out there blocking and had just kind kind of block where the guy came off of him, made the tackle. No argument here, but Connor Hayward's not the reason why this offense is faltering. He's barely playing. They're using the other guys in front of him, Washington, Smith, Freiermuth. To me, it's a moot point.
Right. Let's see. Joe DeFazio, buddy, writes in. While I'm sure you are hearing plenty of fire anyone and everyone, what reasonably can be done to improve the defense? Personnel-wise, all I have come up with is swapping Cole Holcomb for Wilson, at least on first and second downs, and moving Black to starting nose tackle with Benton rotating in with whoever at end. What else is there, if anything? Thanks as always for all you do. Yeah, Joe, look, it's I didn't think Cole Holcomb when he was out there had a great game against the Seahawks. I haven't gotten into the second half overall. I did notice Y.A. Black having a couple issues against the run, and one of them he got kind of double teamed and got flattened on his back. On top of it, it's not just one thing personnel wise that's going to solve this. I don't think.
Yeah, there's not one swap you can change. A lot of it's more to a man, individual techniques and schematic tweaks as well. I still want to let some things play out. We're still only 2 games into it, so I don't. I'm usually probably not more open to changes. Most people will cite the bye week, and that kind of comes at a good quarter of the season point. Even though bye week changes are a little less common than I think people understand and talk about and frame it, but. Let's kind of get through the first month and kind of take more inventory. And plus, with some of the injuries right now, defensively, you only have so many options. You have some guys, who are hurt. Hopefully, once Harmon comes back, that's going to help just give you a boost there. And we'll see what it looks like whenever he returns.
The 2-game sample size ain't all that great, but it is a 2-game sample size overall. But they've got a lot to prove. Look, this is a historic defense, all right, right?
It's just in the wrong direction. Yeah. I don't want to wave it away and say, "Oh, there's no concern. It's 2 games." I had the Seahawks game as a pretty good litmus test for where's this run defense at? Because you really could focus in on the run game. You didn't have kind of the quote unquote noise of the mobile quarterback. You could really just hone in on Charbonnet and Walker, and some of the same issues certainly popped up. And that is my concern level is certainly raised a considerable amount after this game than where it was in week 1.
All right, let's take another one more from Brendan. Writes in, "Hey, Dave and Alex, love the show. Keep up the good work. After 2 games, how would you compare this team's profile makeup to previous Steelers teams? It's obvious to me that the 2025 Steelers are not similar at all to the 2010 Steelers. That team was carried by a crazy good defense and had an offense with many weapons. This team is seemingly the opposite of that, but I can't think of another year that this group reminds me of. Perhaps the 2014 Steelers, he says, are similar. That defense was putrid at times, but the offense was much more effective than we've seen so far in 2025. The formula is seemingly the same, though. We need to be able to just outscore the opponent in a shootout to win." I don't want to sit here through 2 games and try to compare to previous years. All I know is that this defense is certainly, when you look at the pedigree and obviously the amount of money being spent on this unit and the draft picks thrown at this unit, and this defense has got a long way to go. But forget historic. This defense has got a long way to go, and I thought there was a good chance this would be a top 10 defense, to be honest with you. Now, I did have my kind of questions coming out of the preseason about the run, and unfortunately, those concerns are right, but they have not had Harmon on the field yet. Not that saying he's going to make a huge, greater difference, especially out of the shoot here. This defense it all starts with stopping the run, and until they do that, none of the other stuff's going to matter.
And I know some of the new pieces like Ramsey and Slay, they've had their moments. They played pretty well overall. But my concern was just all this new for this defense, and how would you come together as a unit? Can you be better than the sum of your parts? And can you play as a group and not just individually talented guys? And I think we're kind of seeing a defense that is not playing together right now.
All right, I got through quite a few emails there. You and I are going to dive into the All 22 tonight. We'll have a Q&A live stream on the Alex Kozora YouTube channel. So that starts at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Imagine a lot of people have the torches and pitchforks out tonight, Alex. So better be ready for that. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button. Follow the directions, sign up, get a username and password, and then hit the login button to take advantage of that. So until the live stream tonight or the Wednesday podcast, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.